So, I didn't intend to be posting another video so soon after the first one, but I definitely need to address the new stuff that's came out. First of all, this is a screenshot from Kingdom Hearts 3. And as you can see, this is the same picture that was being passed off as a Disney Domination leak, which I showed in my last video. Yeah, I can't say much about that. I don't know. It just it's it definitely seems like it would be a fake thing. Although to me this does look like in-game graphics, so maybe they got lazy and reused the animation, or that's like a placeholder or something. But I'm definitely leaning towards like, oh, that's just fake. So another thing I've noticed is that the font on these images is very inconsistent. Some of them have the font that this image has, and this image is like 99% fake for Disney Domination. But other images have different font. As you can see right here, this is not the same font as in the one with Mickey right there that you just saw. It's a different font. So I don't know if we can start separating these by font into categories of like real and less verifiable. Generally though, the Mickey one was inconsistent anyways because the outfit didn't match. So yeah, I'm not sure since this whole leak is very messy, so it's been hard to even figure out where information is coming from, right? So maybe there's like multiple sources, and some of them are real, some of them are fake. Not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, this font thing is inconsistent. Now another thing I've heard being brought up is that it doesn't really make sense for there to be family content, Family Guy content in this game, since Square Enix is a Japanese company and the show never actually aired in Japan. However, I'm sure there's people in Japan who like Family Guy, and they've just seen it through some, other means. Like, here in America, there's a lot of people who are into stuff like Kinnikuman, which has never really had a full English version. So that's, it's possible that, there are people working on the game who, are just aware of Family Guy anyways. And of course, Disney is obviously going to be pushing for it no matter what, so it doesn't really matter whether or not that's a thing in Japan, because Disney would want to put that in either way. So there's also this old text leak which I stumbled upon, and I'm not sure how I missed this. I think everybody pretty much missed this, but it's quite interesting. Basically, what it says is the game is real, but all of the images are fake. Now we obviously know some of the images are fake, like we just went over that Mickey one, fake. We also saw the Donald and Goofy ones earlier that were false, but this one says that the concept of the game is real, and that it's a real game in development, and that the premise of the game leaked, basically, and somebody, made fake images based on the leaked premise, which, it's kind of kind of, like, semi-believable. But of course, like, you know, I think at the point that this came out, some of the images had already, like, been proven to be false. So maybe it was just, like, somebody who's like, oh, I want this leak to keep going, so I'm gonna say, oh, it's actually real. Because I think at that point, most people had already given up on it. But the rest of it just makes sense. It says here the game started development August of 2017, then was shelved in 2018, and then resumed development later in 2018, which is possible. It also said Flameface is actually named Inferno, which is, you know, not too surprising. I think Flameface would be a pretty amusing name for the main villain. But yeah, overall, it's Inferno just makes sense. It says it's inspired by Sonic Adventure 2 in terms of tone, which Sonic Adventure 2 is one of the greatest video games of all time, so yeah, not troubled by that at all. And this is also where that quote about full-on anime comes from, is directly from this text leak, so yeah, don't think about that anymore. That was from here. Now through this text leak, there's references to Mickey, Woody, Spider-Man, Thanos, and even Homer Simpson. So yeah, most of the characters that we were expecting, if this is real and the other stuff wasn't, those characters are still happening for the game. So you don't have to worry if you were like, if you think this is real and you think the other ones aren't real. If you were like, oh, I'm gonna main Thanos, I'm gonna main Woody. Seems like they're still in the game. But characters like Donald, and like the Family Guy characters, who I think we were all assuming, oh, that has to be, you know, that's in like the, we have those characters from like pretty good sources, but if this is to be assumed as real, and everything else is to be assumed as fake, Donald and the Family Guy characters, they aren't, you know, a thing anymore, which might make sense, again, with like the whole Family Guy never aired in Japan thing. The Simpsons did air in Japan, so maybe it just makes more sense to have Homer rather than Peter Griffin, which I would much prefer The Simpsons than Family Guy any day. But you know, I don't know. I would like for this to be true, because with all like the holes that appear in the images, it would be comforting to just know, like, oh, this game that we've kind of built a community off of, it is a real thing. It is like a real actual game. And then this one also says some stuff about the gameplay. They say it's more like Smash Melee than Ultimate, which on one hand, it's like, yeah, of course it's more like Melee. Every leak for a platform fighter is always like, oh, it plays like Smash Bros. Melee, because that's what people want it to be like. But it's totally possible, because there are games that are like very clearly inspired by Melee, particularly Melee. So I could see this one being like Melee. 44 characters, 54 stages. You know, that sounds plausible to me. It sounds plausible. Overall, you know, it just all sounds pretty plausible. Also, the stuff about the voice matches, stage builder, that all lines up. So, you know, I would just say, like, be careful with what you believe, but right now I'm leaning towards this leak here. Sounds pretty real-ish. You know, it's got like a whole story, like you can feel like plausibly this would fit into the real world. So this feels much more real than those, like, images. But yeah, I guess just wait and see, like, never lose hope, I guess. Now, one thing that's really interesting is that text leak doesn't mention Square Enix as the developer, which is interesting. So I'm guessing the Square Enix thing, again, assuming image is fake, that text leak real, came from, like, all the Kingdom Hearts models and whatever, and people just kind of went with that. But it might actually not be true after all, which is interesting. And I also need to apologize. In my last video, I was very definitive saying it would be Square Enix. If it's not, I'm sorry, I messed up. Shout out goes to my viewer Pat, who asks, are there any Phineas mains? While I don't imagine I would be a Phineas main myself, personally I would probably end up maining Oswald if he got into the game. I would love for Phineas to be in there. Phineas and Ferb is a very big deal at Disney. It really defined, like, an era, like a whole, like, block of stuff from Disney, so it needs to be in there in some form. So yeah, Phineas, great choice. Great choice.